Welcome back to Cheddar News. So AT&T and Verizon are hitting the brakes on its 5G rollout near some airports that was set to be deployed tomorrow. They did not say how long the delay will be either. It comes after the biggest airlines in the U.S. sent a joint letter to the Biden administration. The CEOs of American, Delta, and United, and other airlines for that matter, warned that the deployment of 5G could lead to an aviation crisis. Here now to discuss is telecom expert and founder and president of Vertical Consultants, Hugh Odom. And Hugh, can you tell us more about what was said in that letter to the Biden administration?
Well, the aviation industry came out, and as you mentioned, it was a joint effort between the FAA and the totality of the aviation industry to say that this could cause catastrophic, that was their words, catastrophic disruptions in the aviation industry if 5G was rolled out as planned. This meant delays and cancellations of thousands of flights across the country. There had already been restrictions put on several airports, dozens, if not hundreds of airports around the country, saying you had to monitor your altimeter, which is for landing, if 5G was in the area. So this is going to be a major impact. We're also seeing even today, certain international flights are getting canceled from coming into the U.S. as a result of this.
Now, it did not take long for AT&T and Verizon to respond, with the companies announcing today they will delay activating 5G near certain airports. So can you share some more details about AT&T and Verizon's response to the letter and how its 5G rollout will now be impacted?
Well, AT&T and Verizon, as you mentioned, responded and saying, look, they will not turn on 5G within a 2-mile radius of these airports. Now, there was no time frame for when they might turn it on. This was one of the things that the aviation industry was asking for a continued delay of them not rolling out. The issue for the wireless industry, more particularly AT&T and Verizon, is that this is causing them issues in a lot of ways, from consumers to businesses who are going to rely upon this 5G service, and they've been promising it. And they don't have a real answer for when this will possibly be back and be up and activated.
So what are the concerns that the airline industry has about 5G, specifically C-band?
Sure. Well, AT&T and Verizon paid $80 billion for C-band access. And what the aviation industry is saying, there is possible, and I want to emphasize the word possible, impact or interference with the plane's altimeters. And the altimeter basically controls or determines, I should say, the altitude, or shows the altitude of a plane as getting close to landing. And this is more particularly used when the plane is in foggy condition or bad weather conditions. And the aviation industry is saying, look, we believe there could be some issues with this. There's interference causing planes to not be able to land in certain airports because of those weather conditions.
So we've been hearing a lot from AT&T and Verizon, but there also is a big player when it comes to 5G, and that's T-Mobile. Why haven't we heard anything about their 5G infrastructure when it comes to these concerns from the FAA?
Well, that's a great question. T-Mobile is working on a different bandwidth than the C-band that's currently being trying to be used by AT&T and Verizon. The issue for T-Mobile is that or the non-issue is that they're kind of exempt from this whole controversy. And the problem for AT&T and Verizon is they're falling further and further behind T-Mobile because they were out of the gate first, and now there's certain restrictions on AT&T and Verizon.
So when it comes to them falling behind, what could that mean to their bottom lines? What can that mean to their user count? Because it seems like T-Mobile is running away with it because they're using a different technology. Do you think that AT&T and Verizon could actually catch up, or do you think they're too far behind?
I think they can catch up, but they have to get 5G rolled out 100%. And for a lot of different reasons you mentioned, the name of the game is subscribers. And if you have limitations on what you can do if you're an AT&T or Verizon customer, or where you can use 5G or the level of 5G you get, then you're going to turn to another carrier, this particularly T-Mobile, to get a higher production or efficiency with regards to 5G, something that AT&T or Verizon may not be able to offer.
So the Biden administration has said that it is talking with the FAA, FCC, wireless carriers, and airlines to find a solution to this issue. Do you expect all sides to eventually agree to a solution? And if so, what can that solution look like?
Well, the first thing to find a solution is to find out what the problem is. And this is what the telecommunication industry, more particularly AT&T and Verizon, are scratching their heads. They're saying, look, the aviation industry has known for over 2 years of this rollout, and we still don't have a definitive problem that's been identified so we can calibrate 5G or some other way, calibrate against this issue to resolve this possible problem. So I think the first thing the Biden administration needs to do is get everybody in the room and say, look, aviation industry, identify the problem. Wireless industry, come up with a solution. That's the first step of solving any problem.
Now, when it comes to Verizon and their technologies being so close to airports and the fact that they can tweak things, we've seen a similar issue in France. So what was the solution they had in France when it came to the C-band near airports as well?
Well, France and Europe, for more particularly, their C-band, the level of C-band for their wireless providers is a little bit different. It's a little different frequency than what's being used by, or what's going to be used by AT&T Verizon. The second thing is that in France, they have a 2-mile restriction or buffer around the airports. And that means a great deal with regards to possible interference with altimeters, because you have a difference between 95 seconds approximately from when you get out of or get into 5G interference, or 20 seconds. And so that really means a big difference. So I think what's going to happen is they're going to try to adapt this 2-mile area for both AT&T and some permanent basis, and then try to work it out and try to, again, calibrate against the possible issue with the altimeters.
Why does this feel like it just snuck up on these telecom companies, despite the fact they've been investing billions of dollars, they've been doing all this research, and now that they're going to roll out, they're hitting this roadblock? How has this become such a, I guess, a surprise for them?
Well, I think they're greatly surprised. I think that they're looking at this as an issue that, again, they're trying to find a solution for, that the FAA and the aviation industry is kind of using the leverage of possible safety issues. And the wireless industry has gone to the aviation industry and said, look, try to figure out how we solve this. I think the bigger issue for them, for the wireless industry, is this a precursor to other issues down the road, for other interference issues when they continually upgrade at 5G? This is just the first step of 5G. We will see many other upgrades down the road. And could this be, again, a precursor for problems for AT&T, Verizon, even T-Mobile, as we develop 5G to a greater capacity?
That brings me to my next question. So what benefits will 5G bring, and how important is this in the deployment in the U.S. in terms of continuing to establish us as a technological superpower? Could these 5G delays pretty much impact the technological development of our country?
Yes, the simple answer is yes. We are far behind China and European countries with regards to 5G. And that's for a lot of different reasons. And we are moving into a digital economy, and 5G provides a foundation to provide the U.S. the ability to compete with other countries around the world, more particularly China, in that digital economy. And if we don't get 5G up and running, we're going to see the impact in a lot of different ways. Right now, every day 5G is delayed, it costs the U.S. economy about $140 million per day. And so this is going to have a drastic impact for today and long time going if we don't get in the game. Right now, we're just sitting on the sidelines.
My last question for you, Hugh, is when do you think we'll see 5G rollout? Even if it's a rollout where the airports aren't as strong, do you see this happening in the next weeks, months, or do you think it could be further than that?
Well, AT&T and Verizon have said they're going to roll out everything except that 2-mile radius starting tomorrow. They're green lighting that. The issue is that those areas around there, around hundreds of airports around the country. As I mentioned, that's going to be the next step. But again, this is going to be a bigger issue. Is this a first step of a solution, or is this a first step of a continual problem with the rollout of 5G from all the carriers?
All right, Hugh Odom, it's always a pleasure, Hugh. I appreciate it. Founder and president of Vertical Consultants, thank you so much for being on our show again. Appreciate your expertise, sir, as always.